Hello, it's Alex, the Bookubus. I'm back with another video. It's been a little while. I was gonna take a couple of weeks off for Christmas and New Year, but I also then, before that, got shingles, which wasn't much fun, and basically pretty gross and painful. If you aren't aware of what shingles is, it is if you have chickenpox, the virus will then lay dormant in your body and may or may not at some future date spring up again and become shingles. And yeah, that manifests in blisters, which are pretty gross and painful and incredibly itchy, and then they scab over and you have to deal with that whole process. So yeah, I'm still going through that process. I am thankfully feeling better than I was, but yeah, it affects the nerves, and so I'm still dealing with some kind of discomfort from time to time in the area that was affected, which was like my forehead and scalp over on this side. So yeah, not a super fun time, but thank you for all of your well wishes. That was greatly appreciated, and feeling better than I was, so hopefully on the mend. Shingles isn't a lot of fun, so I sympathise with anyone who has had to go through that. But anyway, sorry, that was really long-winded and probably not that interesting, so I'll move on to something that is. So in this video I'm going to be doing my December reading wrap-up, and before I get into that though, I did want to share a few things, some videos that I think you should check out if you haven't already. So the first two are ones that were collaboration videos that I was a part of, which was really cool to be invited, and the finished videos were really awesome. And the first one is from Juan over at Plagued by Visions. He put together a video of different booktubers recommended disturbing reads, so yeah, that one turned out really great. And then Jay over at The World According to Jay put together a collaboration of people's reads from 2021 that they think more people should check out. So yeah, again, a bunch of really great recommendations there, and well worth checking that out. So of course I will leave links to those. And another one that I watched recently was really fun was the Paxi Awards. So my girl Pax over at the Panic Room did an awards show, including a musical interlude by a very special guest. And I was the very surprised winner of one of the awards. I'm not going to say what it was, but it is truly an honour. So yeah, and I won't say any more because I might actually start crying, because it was just, the nicest thing. So thank you, Pax, and the video is really awesome, so definitely go check that one out. And one last thing I wanted to mention was there is a relatively new booktuber called Jose. His channel is Haunted Cruise, and he is going to be doing a book club which is Page to Scream themed, so books that have film adaptations, and you can join in by reading the book or watching the film or doing both. And the pick for January is Psycho by Robert Bloch, and I've seen the movie but I've never actually read the book. It's one of those books I've been meaning to get to forever, so I was hoping to get to it this year anyway, and then I saw Jose's pick for the month and figured perfect opportunity to jump in, join in with the book club and finally give it a read. So I'm really looking forward to that. And of course, I will link his video and channel, so definitely go check him out, he's awesome. Okay, so I think that was pretty much everything that I wanted to touch on before I talk about the books I read in December. I ended up reading 6 books in total, and the first one was Hell House by Richard Matheson. And this is, like Psycho, it's a book that I've been meaning to get to forever and hadn't, but it is actually set in December, so I figured perfect time of year to read it. And a bunch of people over at One's Discord, the Plagued by Visions Discord, were reading it in December, so yeah, I joined in with that and really enjoyed it. So this has some similarities to The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, in that we have a group of people who are going to this supposedly haunted house in order to investigate. And in Hill House, we have a couple of people who are mediums, and then we also have someone who is taking a more scientific approach, and then he comes along with his wife. So yeah, there's a dark history surrounding this particular building, which has become known as Hell House, and yeah, some creepy stuff happens and it starts to affect the different characters in different ways. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I mean, it's a classic of the horror genre, and the only other Richard Matheson I had read is I Am Legend, which I also thought was excellent. So yeah, 2 for 2 at the moment. And yeah, I thought this was, yeah, it had a great atmosphere and some really effective, creepy and unsettling moments. Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail, but there is some sexual content in some of the things that play out with some of the characters, mostly the female characters. So I can see why some people don't like that, because it, you know, from the time period as well when it was written, it, yeah, can come across as not tallying up with today's standards. But I think for the reading it out of the time period, I think it's actually really interesting and really well done, and the way that these characters are dealing with these things that they're being kind of forced into is, yeah, I actually thought was very effective and, yeah, unsettling to think about. I did think the ending, the way that things tied up, I might not have been like 100% satisfied with, but the rest of the book was really good, so it didn't kind of spoil my enjoyment. And yeah, I ended up rating that one 4 stars. Then I read Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. This was a fairly new release that just came out towards the end of 2021. And I'd been, yeah, hearing some good and some bad things about it. It seems to be one of those books that is, yeah, causing reactions one end or the other. I actually fell somewhere in the middle. I rated it 3 stars, but looking back, since it was about a month ago that I read this, now that might have been a bit generous. It's maybe more of a 2.5. But this is a short read, and it's about a group of friends who go into this abandoned mansion in Japan in order for 2 of the characters to have a marriage ceremony. And yeah, they have all previously done some like supernatural, paranormal type investigating, and so yeah, going into this potentially haunted house is kind of their thing. But we learn that the different characters within this group don't all get on, and so there's some history, you know, there, which we learn about some of that and how that has affected the dynamic of the friend group. And then of course there is a ghost in the building. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that, or, you know, there's potentially something creepy going on. And yeah, this was definitely a mixed experience for me. I enjoyed the concept of it, and there were definitely some scenes here that I thought were very atmospheric and effective in, yeah, a creepy way. But I think the rest of the story didn't really work for me. I think the friendship group was quite confusing, honestly, because I think at some point it was stated that, yeah, they had all known each other for a long time and were part of a friendship group, but then the way that they were described as the story went on, it seemed like some of them barely knew each other, or there was such animosity there that, you know, they hadn't hung out with them in a long time. But the way that that was described, it made it feel like they hadn't ever been friends in the first place. So I kind of had to go back and reread part of it to understand, were these people friends at one point, or are they just scattered, you know, acquaintances that are coming together? And then also the reason why they came together for this couple to get married, you know, there were like most of the people there, other people didn't want there. And so it was just, didn't seem particularly believable that this scenario would happen, because no one really wanted to be there. It was just kind of like, I couldn't get my head around that part of the story. And then the main character is dealing with something that happened to her, you know, like a year ago or something, and some kind of grief or trauma. And we do learn about part of that, but I think either I missed something completely, or it just wasn't really touched on or expanded upon. That I just felt like there was something more there that we should have learned about. I thought that was going to be more a part of the story, and it wasn't. So yeah, that was kind of seemed like a missed opportunity maybe for exploring that. So yeah, like I say, it was a mixed bag for me. Some things I really liked, some things I didn't. And it's funny because in the acknowledgements, the author says something about you know, thanks to Ellen Datlow, because she was the one who said, you know, this is a great idea, but it needs a lot of work. And that's kind of my thoughts at the actual finished, published thing. Like, it's a really good idea, but it still needs a lot of work. So it's, yeah, kind of an odd one. I feel like it had a lot of potential to be way better than it was, but yeah, probably 2.5 stars is my fair rating on that. Okay, then I read a short story. This was Green Tea by Sheridan Le Fanu. And I was actually planning on reading a bunch of ghost stories in December, and unfortunately I only got to one of them, which was a bit of a shame, but it was a good one. And this is essentially about a character who starts to be haunted by this entity, which takes the form of a monkey. And yeah, some very creepy scenes ensue regarding that setup. I thought that part of the story, when it was focusing on this character, I thought was excellent. The thing that let the story overall down for me was that it's told as a story within a story, and so that actual creepy monkey part doesn't take up much of the entire thing. The rest of it is another character who is kind of recounting it, but there's a lot of build up to even getting to the meat of the story, and I just didn't think it was necessary. I think that could have been much more brief, because it didn't add, I didn't think it added much to the story. I think it should have focused on the creepy monkey, honestly. But I would say it's still well worth checking out, because yeah, the good bits were really good. Yeah, creeped me out a little bit. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Then moving from a short story to what I think was the longest book I read in the whole year. This was December by Phil Rickman, and this was really good. It's one I'd been saving for December for obvious reasons, and this is about a band that were formed in the 80s. They were kind of put together by a manager and a, you know, kind of record label, because they all have some kind of psychic powers, and they were put together in order to record an album at this abbey, which has a history, and yeah, the concept was that they might be able to bring some of this history out in their music and their psychic abilities. And of course, things go horribly wrong, ends in complete disaster, and the band members disperse and never see each other again. And so they're all kind of dealing with this trauma that happened to them, and then also just trying to get on with their lives after this in one way or another. Most of them, yeah, being not very well, in fact. And the story then picks up some years later. I think this book came out in the mid-90s, so I think the rest of it is set in kind of that present day. And yeah, this was, again, like Hell House, I think it didn't quite come together for me at the end, but the rest of the book was so good and really enjoyable that it was still, yeah, a really great read in my opinion. It is a long one. The edition I had was over 600 pages long, getting on 700 pages, and I'm always a bit, yeah, intimidated by long books like that. I think partly it's because, you know, is it going to be worth putting the time into something that long? You know, you don't want to read a book that long and then just be like meh about it. But yeah, so this one had great characters. I think every character in this book was just so well written, and you know, there were definitely some standout ones for me, but overall, yeah, the characters were one of the best things about the book. And because of the length of the book, we really get to know a lot of them, which, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed. And then, yeah, so as you can probably guess, you know, the band members slowly come back together in the present day, and trying to deal with what happened back in this recording session. And as you can also probably imagine, the history of the Abbey is a dark one, and yeah, there are still some dark secrets to be uncovered there, which, you know, they do as the story goes on. And yeah, this one, I would say it's maybe a little bit too long. I think by the end of it, it was getting a bit drawn out, but it had a lot of fantastic moments. There was one scene I think might be my favourite scene of the whole book, which is related to some tapes of a session that have been damaged, and they are sent to you know, a place that can fix them. I don't know what it's called. I'm blanking on the technical term, but something happens as they are like trying to dry out these tapes. And yeah, that was the way that was told as well. It was kind of in these alternating, yeah, I can't really describe it, but it was wonderful and creepy, and yeah, probably one of the best parts of the book. So yeah, if you're looking for a long novel to like really just get sunk into, really get to know these characters, it's obviously got the music element, so if you like reading about music and about bands, this is a great one to check out. Yeah, learning about the band members individually, and their own kind of struggles, and you know, trying to make it in the music business, and then yeah, the way that they came together to form a band, and yeah, the band dynamic, and the music itself. Yeah, so many great elements. It seemed to be really well researched. You know, I don't have any experience in the music industry, but it seemed to be very authentic. Yeah, I thought this one was really good, and like I say, it didn't quite come together for me at the end, but I still did really enjoy it, and I'm glad I read it. Yeah, it has some supernatural elements, as you can probably guess, and yeah, I thought it was a pretty unique concept, or at least the execution of that concept maybe. I really enjoyed his writing style, it was excellent, so I would be keen to read more of his work. So if any of you have read any Phil Rickman, I would love to hear if you have any recommendations. But yeah, this one I rated 4 stars. Okay, and then last up I read 2 Christmas related YA books from the 90s. One was a Fear Street book called Silent Night by R.L. Stine. Silent Night is about a teenage girl who is not the nicest person. She's, yeah, just kind of a bitch to everyone, but her daddy owns the big department store in town, and so, you know, she's kind of used to getting what she wants and, yeah, pushing people around and just, yeah, having fun, making fun of other people, that kind of thing. And yeah, she's, I guess, made a bunch of enemies, and so when some scary things start to happen to her, you know, it's hard to tell who could be behind it because there are so many potential suspects. And yeah, this one is set in the run up to Christmas, and so she and a bunch of the other characters are working in this department store. And yeah, there's also this side story involving, I think it was the main character's cousin, who is kind of like a poorer side of the family, and you know, envious of the main character, you know, being able to afford whatever she wants. Yeah, this was a good one. I enjoyed it, and it had some good scenarios where, yeah, these strange things are happening to the main character, and yeah, trying to figure out who's behind it, because like I said, there are quite a few suspects. So yeah, we get the typical red herrings along the way, and yeah, I thought it was good fun, and I gave this one 3.5 stars. And then last up I read My True Love Gave to Me by Eric Weiner. This is from the Scream series, and this one I actually did like a little more than Silent Night. This one I gave 4 stars to, so yeah, if I were to recommend one over the other, I would go with this one. This is, yeah, believe it or not, it's about another teenage girl, and she starts, yeah, receiving these scary things that are happening to her, and so we're trying to figure out who's behind it, and we have some red herrings along the way. Yeah, classic 90s YA horror. And this one I just got into the characters a lot more, and I thought the story was a bit more interesting. I enjoyed his writing. It's told from the main character's perspective in first person, so I kind of felt that drew me into the story a bit more, and she had a really good voice. Yeah, I really liked the relationship she had with her dad and brother. I thought that was really great. And then yeah, the relationship with her friends and boyfriend, and yeah, this one had some really good twists and turns, and yeah, had some like real threat going on, which I thought was well done. And of course it's all Christmassy related. I thought this one was really, really fun. It does get kind of dark as well towards the end. Had a couple of things happen that I was like, whoa, okay. But yeah, definitely recommend checking this one out. I thought it was brilliant. And yeah, obviously won't spoil the ending, but I thought it was great. So that was everything I read in December. It was a decent reading month, and yeah, I didn't get to nearly as much reading as I wanted to, but so it goes. At least, yeah, made it through the month. The bloody shingles though, I could have done without, because yeah, it was just, this past year was just felt a bit like one thing after another. I've just never been able to like, as soon as I've dealt with one thing, something else crops up that I'm having to deal with. And yeah, so the shingles thing was, it was just, yeah, kick me while I'm down, why don't you, 2021. But anyway, I'm still here, so I guess that's something. And I did recently get a new jumper, which I don't know if you can really see, but it is black and then it has these bows all over it. I found it, it's a vintage number. I found it in a thrift store recently for like a couple of dollars. I was very excited, and it has shoulder pads. And yeah, I just loved it. I think it's like Goth but cute, cute but goth. Great combination if you ask me. So yeah, anyway, a somewhat jazzy jumper to add to my jazzy jumper collection. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but just thought I'd mention it because it's a fun thing. Anyway, yeah, I am looking forward to a whole year of reading ahead of me. I've got, yeah, a lot of books I really want to get to, but yeah, it's the usual struggle of just never having enough time. So I'll do what I can, and yeah, I do have a few videos that I want to do over the next few weeks. So in no particular order, one of them is going to be my favourite books that I read in 2021. Another one is going to be a bit of a 2021 review, and then, you know, goals for 2022, which I still need to figure out. And then the other one will be a book haul, because I have bought and received from lovely people a ton of amazing books, yeah, over the past couple of months. So yeah, I think a book haul video is in order. So that is going to be what's coming up over the next few weeks, hopefully, and then we'll see what happens after that, I guess. But yeah, I hope you are all having a good 2022 so far, and yeah, do let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you've been reading recently, and yeah, just yeah, thank you all for your, you know, your well wishes last month when, yeah, I wasn't feeling very well, and yeah, just thank you for sticking around if you're still here. I do really appreciate it, and yeah, looking forward to making some videos over the next few weeks. So thank you ever so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you again in my next video.